And sometimes I know it's challenging. When you start meditating and you get those specific, you should do this, you should do that, sometimes you go, oh, well, I don't know. I know recently Cheryl, maybe not so recently, time is such an illusion, but Cheryl Province, our minister of the children, and you may not know, she has a great healing practice. She's a Reiki master. She's one of the best masseuses on the planet. And she had an extra healing table. And she said she felt this guidance that she needed to let it go, and she was going to sell it. So she was feeling like she should sell that healing table. And in meditation, Spirit said to her, no, you're not going to sell that table. I want you to give that table to a specific person. And she went, really? Well, I don't know how I'm going to feel walking up to them and saying, God told me to give you my healing table. You know, that might seem strange. And so she didn't know what to do. So apparently that week on Tuesday night she was here, and that person was here, and they were standing next to somebody else. So Cheryl went over and said to the two of them, do either of you need a healing table? And the person she was told to give it to said, I do. And she said, thank God, God told me to give it to you for free. And the person said, interesting, God told me I needed to start doing more Reikis. Now, when that person does those Reikis, how much of a blessing does Cheryl get? Do you see? We are all in the flow. We're all in the flow. Sometimes it's hard when you get a name, a person. But we don't have to control it. We can just let God move through. In the Aquarian Gospel, there's a story that's really famous to most of you. It's in chapter 114 in the Aquarian, but it's also in the New Testament. Jesus and the disciples have been teaching, and they come upon a place where there's been a major sea accident, and a lot of the men are dead. And someone comes to him and asks him, how can you help now these women and these children? They're orphans, and the women have no way to make a living, and what can you and your religion do? And he said, open up our treasure box and give everything we have to these people, because it is no longer ours. And Judas said, let's say we did and not. Let's keep a little bit back. Because, you know, this is crazy. He's kind of like overdoing it here. Why don't we, because Judas was the treasurer, why don't we hold a little bit back, and then that'll make him happy. We've given what he said, but we've protected our interests. And Peter said, oh my God, Judas, are you crazy? Get back in your body, man. How dare you do something that the master, or not do something the master has asked us to do? And Judas and Peter opened up the treasure box and gave everything they had. Jesus lived in the consciousness that he was one with this celestial energy of God. Judas lived in the consciousness that matter was still a portion of his source. I'm going to love God 80%, maybe, but I'm going to make sure I got 20% that God's not a part of, or whatever. I don't know what Judas was actually thinking. But how often do we play both roles? Jesus lived with the idea that he was sourced by God, and he was the channel of God love. And all that he gave with an understanding that he was an emissary of Spirit. If you give with the understanding you are an emissary of Spirit, what will return to you? Spirit. The support of Spirit. Like the divine dip, in your daily work, you can act from Spirit. In your energy with others, you can act from Spirit. And sometimes, I know, it's challenging when we get into our emotional attachments and we don't want to act from Spirit. You know, we struggle to get to that space of love within us. It's challenging. But we need to breathe through, pull up, and when you can, act from Spirit. Act from Spirit. We have a choice on this planet to live with whatever source we choose. If you want the world to be your source, good. You'll have your lessons and your learnings at that level. I find that level unentertaining. It's a very empty level. Whereas if we begin to live as God as source, we become enlivened, and possibilities are immense, and you're lifted up into this world that anything can happen. Anything can happen when God is source. As I invest my energy in Spirit, Spirit returns to me. On the news they said yesterday that religions are rapidly going the way of the buffalo, and that most countries are not churchgoers, and that religions will atrophy to the point of, I don't know, the buffalo, I guess, will be put on reserve somewhere in years to come. And I don't believe that we as spiritual beings could ever do that to ourselves. Because we're spiritual beings. Philosophies may change, structures may change, ideals may change, but we're God beings. You can't take God out of our lives. You can't take Spirit out of our formula. We are children of God. And as children of God, the more we consciously know that and invest our energy in that, we live at that higher level. For me, I can tell you, before the dream, when David was an infant, I had been a tither for a while, and I was attending a workshop with Edwina Gaines. She's a master prosperity teacher. Y'all familiar with her? She'll tell you what's up, and she'll be in your face. So she's just from Texas. That's what Texans do. And I remember being in this workshop, and she was challenging everybody, what is your dream, what is your dream? Well, I was married, working like a Trojan, had this infant, truly working like a Trojan, and very limited income. It was very, very challenging, and I was the sole source of the family. And I'm writing all these things that I wanted to create in my life, prosperity being one of them, but primarily spiritual connection with God. I needed to be this light. I needed to study. I needed to let my light shine and be that spiritual being. I needed to be on my Christed path, and I wasn't. I was where I needed to be for the moment, but it was time to change. And I remember she looked at everybody and said, you know, you got to give to God. You can't outgive God, but you got to give to God. And I sat in my little chair, pretty smug. I said, I'm a tither. I already give to God. And I just had my little smug look on my face, and she goes, you are living at your level of consciousness. If you want to change, you have to give more. Now, really? Oh my God. So, in my trepidation and fear, not being able to rub 2 extra nickels together, I made a commitment that day that I would tithe 15% of the gross forever. And I did. And I didn't do it with an open heart saying, yay, God, let's party. I did it going, oh my God, you know, this is going to be hard for me. But what it did, I found the list about, I was looking for it last night because I was really going to bore you with the details of it. But I found the list about 5 or 6 years ago. Every single thing on that list happened and greater. Every single thing happened and greater. Because I took a moment to change the investment I currently had and up my ante in the game. And we didn't miss one meal. We didn't miss one payment. We have been debt-free since David was 5 years old. If we didn't have it, we didn't get it. And that was one of the things I had on my list. We had done everything as a family that was on that list. But I had to up my ante to do it. And I will tell you what I learned. That first tithe from my heart to God goes to God. It goes to the church. But you know what? All the rest of that money, guess whose it is? It's God's. It's God's anyway. So when God says, I want you to give somebody a little extra bump, and I don't know why they need that money, that check is written and it's in their hands. Because I'm a steward of that prosperity. It's not mine. And as I flow and I breathe, it comes back to us. It comes back to me. Because I want to live at that level where I can say what Jesus said. God is my source. Matter is not. This matter is temporary. God is my source. Everything on this planet. Think about when you cross over. They'll tell you, you'll hear it all your whole life. When you die, what do you take with you? You take your consciousness. You take what you have grown in consciousness. Because we have to grow. We have to grow our consciousness. That's our job here. And if matter is our focus, we're on this little circle of matter. I love Spirit. I could tell you miracles upon miracles upon miracles. Small ones. Many people want the big $1 million miracle. Want the $300 million lottery. Want the big miracle. Those little miracles, when you need something and it comes to you, it is overwhelmingly powerful. Because that was a trusting thing. And the miracles daily that occur in my life, by my relationship, are immense. And I wish I could show it all to you. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. And do I have a ton of work ahead? Absolutely. But I'm working with God. And God is my source. And I am a good steward. That I know. I am a good steward. So, prosperity is not about what you own. It's about how you flow. How you give and how you receive. Giving, realizing you're investing in where you're giving, and receiving, realizing that that's coming back to you because you've already given it. Simple formula, isn't it? Do you feel expanded? All right, let's take a breath. Put your feet on the floor. God, we open our hearts. And I ask for this moment in time that each one begin to feel their sonship and their daughtership with you. And as we feel that, I ask that your energy just engulf us as the precious, precious, beloved child that we are. And I would invite all to take a breath, and as you feel the love of God within, feel that you are one with this energy of peace. God love seeks to sustain and support every thought. And God love does in fact sustain and support every thought. Feel the love free-flowing and unconditional. And now imagine that you can take the thoughts that you have in your mind and in your consciousness, the beliefs, and just sprinkle expansion into that. Sprinkle trusting of the universe into that. I'm going to choose to trust the universe for this moment. And as you do, feel now that God love moving through this expanded matrix of thought. Now God love can support this thought. It is your choice. Let your focus come back to your heart. You are love and God is love. You are in your right and perfect place. Nothing in the outer doesn't need you to be or do. Search your heart. What do you choose to be or do? And feel the God love just moving to support whatever Whatever choice, however you want to invest your light, your energy. Breathe. Send love into your world. And feel that you are held in a circle of light. As I give, so I shall receive. In this moment, I give love to my world. And so I shall receive love. Father, Mother God, lift us up. Hold us into an awakening. Let the words that were shared today filter in the way that they need to for each person to bless them. But let them know that they know your source. And we thank you now for all the good that flows into our lives. And so it is. Take a breath. Let your love go back out into the room. Prosperous, powerful people of God. The world is yours. You got it.